Hello, friends of Rosey. This is Cath.
And this is Alex.
I asked Alex to stop peeling chestnuts so we could record this, and Alex refused. So if you hear any crunching, Alex is peeling chestnuts.
I wait for no podcast recording.
So we're going to try this as a sort of, thing for friends of Rosey. Alex and I often do buddy reads, and that was the chestnut. That was a great crack.
Yeah.
This whole recording is just going to be chestnuts.
Do you want me to actually stop?
That old chestnut. I don't know. Let's just go.
All right. It's a little bit of ASMR for our listeners.
Yeah, just close your eyes, lean back, and listen to this. Go. Do a real... Oh, that would have been a good one. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, we're going to talk about Monstrilio, which is a book we both buddy read. So it's by Gerardo Sámano Córdova. I've probably said that wrong. He is an American writer with a Mexican background. Is that right?
I think so.
So it's not translated, it's written in English. Yeah, writer and artist from Mexico living in Brooklyn. It's his first book, and it is fucking weird, is the first thing I will say.
Very strange, yeah.
Wasn't it weird?
Yeah.
So should we try and... So we're not going to do spoilers. I think maybe the very end we could do spoilers, and then people could stop listening. Oh no, has it stopped recording? Oh no, we're good. Do you want to try and describe it? Do you want me to? It's pretty...
You try to describe it and I'll chime in.
All right. Two parents, it's a novel. Two parents, their young son, who was 8 or 9, has just died. And he always had a weak lung. He only had one lung and it was weak, and so he wasn't expected to live very long anyway. And now he's just died. And they're just grieving. This is, by the way, this is the very first chapter. It goes in hard and stays that way.
Strong start. Yeah.
Very strong start. So they're, her husband and her are holding this boy in their arms, crying, grieving. And then the husband, Joseph leaves. When he leaves, and this is the bit when it gets weird, she decides to get a knife and cut out her boy's lung. So the boy's dead. She opens up his chest, feeds it back, blah, blah, blah. Takes his lung, and then she was going to clear it up before Joseph comes back in, but she doesn't. He walks in and there's just blood everywhere, and she's got this lung, this small deformed lung. And so that's kind of the first chapter, and we're just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
That's pretty...
Yeah, I mean, that's not really a synopsis of the whole book. It's a good synopsis of the first chapter, though. So the wife, the mother, is called Margos. And I would just say the whole book is about Margos and Joseph, and also kind of their friend Lena, processing their grief over the loss of their son, Santiago, whose lung Margos has now kept.
And I don't think it's a spoiler to say what she does.
I think it's on the blurb.
It's on the back, right?
I knew about it before I went in.
Yeah, so her mother's housemaid and friend sort of found the lung when she goes back to stay with them, and goes, oh, was this, this is part of a tradition in my town, and we heard that someone cut... it was like a folk tale, basically, and they fed, I think it was a heart or a liver or something, and it turned into a person, and then the person was beautiful, but it never ended well, and, it's kind of one of those small town stories, and so Margos decides to feed the lung in sort of a moment of grief, and she hasn't cried yet. She's kind of got it all inside her, and the next morning, all the chicken broth and lumps of carrot and everything in this jar with this child's lung have been eaten. Well, have disappeared. And is it a spoiler to say? No, so it turns into a Monstrilio. It grows into Monstrilio, which is what they call the monster that grows from this lung. So it does become a being.
Yeah, sentient being.
There's so much more, but it's kind of... I don't think... I went in not knowing much, and so I kind of feel like stopping it there would be good. But it's friggin' weird. Like, I mean, from the very first part, it was just odd, but kind of fascinating too, about how people grieve and about how, the things I think people, the way, she clings to this, like my only son is dead. What if I can regrow him and he can be my son, I can have my son again, and everyone's like, well, this isn't your son. And so there's a lot of that, and as the monster evolves, and again, I won't say too much, and it's sort of, the whole book is from 4 perspectives. And, starting with her going to her husband, going to a friend, and then finally of the Monstrilio, which is what they call him because they can't call him Santiago, which is the kid's name. So yeah, it's friggin' weird. Did you like it? What did you think? So we haven't talked about it. We've deliberately said, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just been difficult, actually, because I was reading it and I was just like, what? What is going on? I want to talk about this. Because it's weird. Like, and it just gets weirder, I think.
Yeah. I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting, like an interesting take on grief horror. Like, it wasn't really... I don't know, I didn't feel scared by any of the things happening, but it did feel like a very raw kind of exploration of grief and
creepy too, I think.
Yeah, and
not creepy, scary, but creepy.
Creepy and sort of grief like from all these different angles. Like if you do, like I suppose Joseph is kind of the character who grieves in the most kind of what we would think of as healthy way. Like he cries and he goes through this intense depression and then comes out on the other side with a different relationship with Monstrilio, whereas Margos, who created Monstrilio really by being unable to let go of Santiago, like has kind of the unhealthiest relationship with that grief, like, and doesn't even call Monstrilio by that name, like still refers to him as Santiago and is like completely unable to let go of her son for an incredibly long time. And so even though she's not like grief stricken in the same way that Joseph is, like it's a different kind of, like she's just completely unable to let go. And so you see her relationship with Monstrilio is different because of that.
Well, and with her husband and with her mother and everyone else.
And she has all these really, sorry to interrupt, but has all these like much different sort of expectations for Monstrilio and what he might grow to be compared with all the other like point of view characters in the book, which I thought was interesting.
Well, because I think, like, you know, reading on the reviews, people sort of say it's an amazing look at love and loyalty. And in some ways she is so loyal to this. You know, she sees it as her son. It's clearly not her son, but it kind of is her son because it came from his lung. But, you know, the way she unwaveringly protects this creature, which, again, it's hard not to spoil it, eh?
Yeah, but she doesn't... I wouldn't call it protective. I would call it controlling. Like, she's incredibly controlling. I won't spoil something that happens later in the book, but she really wants to sort of dictate what Monstrilio will grow into and who he will grow up to be. And I was thinking about this, and
what is in her? She wants him to be Santiago, her son. You mean,
or you know, will he be more humanoid, or will he be sort of more of his monstrous form? Like it's sort of a nature versus. I thought there was sort of like a nature versus nurture theme running throughout, and also, kind of selfless love versus like controlling love, or you know, kind of.
Felt like it was for her more than
and I think I was reflecting on it, and a lot of the characters in the book are queer. I don't think that's really a spoiler.
What do you mean a lot of? I think every single
character in the book is queer. And I think actually that was important because otherwise Monstrilio's story could be really seen, like his arc could be seen as like this allegory for queerness. And I think the fact that all of his primary carers and all of his like most central relationships in his life were queer people, like, you know, rather than it being sort of a story, an allegory for queerness and them sort of rejecting him because he's monstrous or he's this or he's that, or wanting to shape him. Wanting to shape. I'm trying to be a bit vague so that people don't know exactly.
The allegory of queerness I was trying to, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like, so, because I feel like in other stories, I don't know. Well, I mean, neither of us have read it, but like Frankenstein, where he's sort of like Frankenstein's monster is rejected for being exactly who he was created to be. And a lot of people have kind of read narratives of queerness onto that, where it's like he's being rejected for being his true self, whereas Monstrilio like is not going to be rejected for being queer because his whole family is
probably,
but
he's still
he's still like, I mean, I won't say whether he is or isn't rejected, but there's still kind of this through line of like, will he be accepted for exactly who he is? And I think it's important that
a monster, like Monstrilio,
so I think it was probably a deliberate choice to make all of his family and friends queer, because then it's like, well, we can't, it's not that straightforward. Like what else is the kind of nature that people are rejecting about Monstrilio, you know?
Well, and I think too, like, trying to change him into something that is more acceptable, or trying to change him into what, like, to be like their son. And then, and I think the way the book, again, it's hard without spoilers, but the way the book kind of delves into that as it evolves, you know, so the whole book is a how do you say it, like there's 4 parts of it, and it's all the same timeline. So by the end of the book, they've all grown older. I'm saying this badly. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, everyone
so
develops.
It's from 4 perspectives, but it's not the same. It's not looking at the same chunk of time.
Yes.
Like, the story is linear. And
linear, there you go.
It goes from Margos to Joseph Margos to Lena to Joseph to then M, the final chapter, M.
But I like that. I feel like everyone matured and changed. And, like, some of them, like, I admit the mother I found really awful. I really struggled with her.
Yeah, you couldn't really relate to her, could you?
I tried to, and I thought, well, in grief, people who grieve, like, you would want to do things that don't make sense because you're just so broken, and especially an only child and everything else, and like it's definitely not a simple story, and everyone sort of it looks into a lot of themes and like what is human, what makes us human, and I think grief is what makes us human. And when she does grieve, when her child's in her arms, she doesn't cry, she just cuts out his lung. That's her kind of, I don't know, it's I've never read anything like it, which is a compliment, but it's just, even when I finished it, I just sort of thought, I remember you said, what did you think? Did you like it? And I was like, I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I read it. And I've thought about it a lot. It's a book that stayed with me, especially as we saw, that final perspective with M, or Monstrilio, and from his point of view, and just thinking, oh my God, how would it be for him? And, I don't know, it's, yeah. I mean, for a first book, it's pretty amazing and pretty different and pretty weird and
kind of philosophical too.
Yeah. What they've got on this review blends bold imagination and evocative prose with deep emotional rigor, which, yeah. And what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean to love, and what does it mean to be loyal, and what does it mean to be true to yourself? And I think it actually explores a lot, and what's really not that a long book. What's 336? Yeah. Well, and it's 330.
It's like a quick 300 pages too, because there's a
easy
lot
to
of
read.
Blank space. The type isn't that big.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I think some parts sort of read almost like a script or like a film treatment or something. Like it's quite sparse, the prose.
But I found it so easy to read though.
Yeah, no, and it is like because of that. I think it's not very flowery or anything, which I really enjoy.
Would you read another book by? I don't know if he has, since this has been, when's this? 2024. So it has just.
It's pretty recent.
Oh no, the US was 2023. So he might be working on a new one. Would you read another one by Córdova?
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah. Weird book.
Weird book. But would you recommend?
I would,
to
and it's not the
listeners?
It's not the kind of book I would normally read. I'm trying to push myself a little bit because I read basically just literature, and I don't non-fiction. I'll read every now and then, but I have to be quite interested. Whereas I've never really read horror or anything. Whereas being friends with Alex, and Alex reads a lot more, so it's really cool pushing myself to read different things. So I'm really glad I read it. Yeah, I think I would recommend it, but I think. Yeah, you kind of have to tell people that opening scene, because there are people who are going to read it and go, ooh, this is horrible, I don't want to read it, and just stop there.
Yeah.
And I think if that doesn't scare you away, then it's definitely one.
It's pretty smooth sailing after that.
It is, right?
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, and there were some pretty gross things that happened, but it was kind of like, well, yeah, no, that tracks. It wasn't altogether unsurprising.
Yeah.
Still bloody weird, though. Should we talk about spoilers? Do you want to... Yeah, so we're at 13:52. Should we just
for a couple minutes, maybe we can talk about spoilers.
So maybe go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other thing is we don't know whether we'll do this again. This is kind of just a test run.
Yeah.
So maybe friends of Rosey who listen to it could tell us whether they care if we go into spoilers in future episodes. I can feel a sneeze coming on.
You peeled all those chestnuts beautifully, though.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
And then did you hear Echo snort and drink water during the rest of it? God, it's just real.
Nettle growled.
Nettle growling.
Yeah.
So if you are not going to read it, you can keep listening, or if you have read it. But yeah, please, if you are going to read it, stop listening now, because I actually think spoilers would really spoil it, because it's just such a... Yeah, the way the book develops is fascinating. So yes, stop here and come listen later once you've read it.
Alrighty.
Spoilers, let's go. What the hell? When he ate the person, that he just ate them? What? And they found his bones, but then they looked at the fur and it wasn't animal. It was animal. It wasn't human, which makes sense because he's a monster. What?
But I felt like that was always going to happen.
See, I thought it was about drinking blood, and I was like, is this kind of vampiric? But it wasn't. Like, he was like, no, I want to eat the flesh. It's the flesh that's delicious. And then I thought, sorry, I'm kind of talking at you a little bit.
No, that's okay.
But like when his Luke, who's his uncle, bought him the cow, I was like, oh, that's so nice. But then he was like, no, this is old and it's fine, but I need humans because humans put their dreams into their flesh. And like, it's so, it was just, what?
Yeah.
And like taking a bite, and then he found Thomas, who was beautiful, and loved him for who he was, and he bit him once. He said that's enough, and him being German would be part of that acceptance, and then coming back to America, and everyone's just like, what the fuck, leave me alone, except for the guy who literally had psychosis.
I don't think that was going to be enough for Monstrilio. I think he could have kept going, and it was Thomas that said, I don't want to do it again.
Oh, definitely, but the thing is, with Thomas, he stopped.
Yeah.
But do you think if he stayed with Thomas in Germany, he would have been able to stop with Thomas? Or do you think that would have got worse?
Yeah, I think it would have got worse.
When that's why I suppose he ate the cat and the neighbour.
Yeah.
The fuck? And then he left without saying goodbye to Thomas, which I felt bad for, because I feel like Thomas saw him as he was, this weird boy.
Well, sort of, but also kind of not. Like, only his parents and Lena really knew his secret, and that's a pretty hard way to live, you know?
And the fact that Joseph didn't tell, what was Joseph's husband? That he didn't tell
Peter?
him? Like, I feel like Peter would have been understanding. I don't know, how could you be married to someone and that son is in their lives and not tell them? And I get it, but like...
Because he eats people, because he's a monster.
Well, yeah, but he didn't have to say that, like, little by little, you know, like, listen, our son's actually grown out of a lung, which you wouldn't believe anyway, but, you know...
Would you tell your partner that?
Well, I'd have to, because you can't, like, the kids, like, it's not like he's suddenly a man and everything's not weird now. Like, he's weird.
That's why I say, like, I don't think, like, I think Margos, like, I don't think Monstrilio should have ever existed. He was always doomed to live a very sad and
lonely
life, yeah.
And the fact that he remembered when they cut off his tail arm, and he was like, I don't let them know that I remember, but I do.
That's what I mean, like, she wanted to
she
control...
mutated him, like, we wanted you to be more like us, and it wasn't him. And then, I mean, which was beautiful when the claw came back, but it was fucking sick.
Yeah, it was sick.
But the thing is, like, they were trying to control him because he was eating all the cats and being like, look at you, but he's a monster, what could you expect?
Yeah.
And it's weird, like, because even though she saw him, like, literally attack their dog and her mum, and, like, not a little bit, like, had to go to hospital, could have eaten her mum, like we know now.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, well, I love him. Like, it's weird. She had this gross loyalty to him that... And I don't blame Monstrilio, to be very clear.
I don't know if it was loyalty, but I know what you mean.
She's fucking selfish. She pissed me off the whole time. When she... I'm sorry, now I'm just writing. She did that final play and she just cried on stage and was like, it wasn't about him. And she didn't think about the fact that it would affect everyone. She's so self-centered. Oh, she drove me... Like, is she a sociopath or what? Because...
I don't think so.
Oh, come on. Like, seriously, to not only cut out her child's lung and keep it, but then to, like, everything was about her and what she wanted and what she thought was best. There was no consideration of poor Joseph, poor her mum, poor everyone, poor Lena. She strung along Lena, who was clearly in love with her, and I know Lena had responsibility in that too. Like, and then this poor kid who's just trying to do the best, being dragged all around the world, and... I don't know, it became all about her and her art. I'm going to grieve as a form of art, and he had to watch that and go, I don't know. Yeah, and the fact she called him Santiago, even though it wasn't him, and sorry, I just talked at you, but it made me so angry.
Yeah, well, I think grief can really, just really twist some people. You know, I don't think some people are ever the same after a loss like that.
I mean, there's grieving, and then there's
that's exactly what it is. Like, that's a mother who's lost her child. You know. So I know, like, some families are never, ever the same.
No, and and that's very true. And it often breaks up families, doesn't it, with that kind of thing. But also, do you then cut out your kid's lung and feed it chicken broth? I mean, it's just putting it out there. No, I know, I'm being silly, but I just felt the whole time there was nothing about her ever that made me like her.
You've never been in a situation where you just couldn't let go of something, no matter how much it was hurting you or even the people around you. You just...
No, and I mean, of course, I can be quite petty if I want to be, like, and hold grudges if someone's, like, wronged someone I love or something, but at the same time, I mean, it's not the same at all, but And I guess you don't see straight, but like after years and years, and this poor kid was friggin'...
But it's years and years of never grieving healthily. Like, that's what I was saying before. She never, ever properly let go of Santiago because she believed that this piece of his lung was going to grow up into him, and then when it didn't, she wasn't able to let go of that fantasy. Like, she'd built her whole... She'd staked everything on that.
Then he ate the cat and the neighbour, they just ran away and let it happen again.
Yeah. I'm not defending it. I'm saying I can understand. Like, I don't think she's a sociopath. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she's an evil person. I think she's a person with very poor judgment, a very unhealthy, unwell person who just was not able to let go.
I mean, I agree. And I'm not judging. I mean, the grief and the way it would just shatter everything, you know, losing a child. I can't even imagine. But I don't know. I think that was the biggest struggle for me. And especially because she's the first character. I was like, okay, grief, I can see this. But as the story developed, it was just always about her. And I don't think she ever did anything that redeemed her even a tiny bit. Whereas all the other characters, they had so much depth and resolve. And even the ones that you might not have liked so much. I think
she had depth. It just didn't make her more sympathetic. And I kind of like that. Like, I don't want every character to be lovable and someone I would aspire to be. Like, I think it was a really powerful depiction of, of kind of the more unpalatable ways that grief can manifest, you know?
Unpalatable.
Yeah.
Cutting out a lung.
Yeah.
I mean, and what did you think of the ending and that his, claws, grew back, his grew back and then he left.
Yeah.
Oh, before his dad's wedding. But I love that his dad was like, you can't wait? Okay. Like, I was like, yeah, Joseph.
Yeah.
How they explain that to Peter, I don't know, his husband, but...
Well, I just think it was inevitable. Like, he couldn't fit in society, you know?
And so what do you think? Because he, left his clothes, he left everything. So what, he just
he's
lives
wild.
in the...
He's a wild animal.
Lives in the forest and just kills people and becomes a monster that we think about in society? Like, is that...
We kill sentient things and eat them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think... Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair. But I mean, I wondered if... I guess more what I was saying was, I wondered if it was sort of the author then explaining where monsters come from a little bit. I don't know, that's kind of a weird way to put it, but, and then he becomes this creature of the forest that scares kids and becomes a myth because it actually is Monstrilio. I don't know, I thought that was kind of an interesting...
Yeah. I think the, folklore... folk horror is becoming much more popular, and I think it's really interesting because, people have always told scary stories, and I kind of like that there's sort of a space for that now in genre fiction and in,
modern day as well.
Yeah, in traditionally published fiction in modern day settings, and it's not just stuff of the past. It acknowledges that these are stories that lots of communities have always told, you know.
And still, even though they don't believe them, a small part of them does. And now, a monster grown from a dead boy's lung was on Tinder.
Exactly.
Very, very modern day.
Guys, got to watch out, you know.
Yeah. So when you first heard about this book, were you What did you know much going in? Because I just read it because Priscilla, shout out Priscilla, talked about it, and then you talked about it, and I was like, okay, and this is enough people now that have loved this. And then I started reading a tiny bit.
What was on the blurb on the back?
Oh, so you did read the back, yeah.
Well, I knew that going into it. It was,
which tells you a lot, but also nothing.
Yeah, I knew what genre it was. I knew that it was about grief. I knew that Margos cut a piece of her deceased son's lung out of his body and grew something out of it, and that's all I knew, really. And that it was gay.
11-year-old, turns out. Santiago's 11. God, it's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
No, yep. There's lots of gnarly, gruesome, gross stuff in it. Yeah.
I don't know whether I have much more to say
about it. Neither. Yeah. Well, you've got to eat those chestnuts now that you've peeled.
I want to heat them up, so...
Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll I don't know, I'll put this on Spotify and see how it goes. Let us know if this is something you're interested in as a friend of Rosey, because we want to, do special content for you guys as a thank you. And we do quite a few buddy reads and like talking about books anyway, so we're happy to.
Yeah.
Shorter, longer. I mean, we said 10 minutes and it's 25, so I'm going to stop now. Thank you for supporting us. You guys are the best.
Bye.
Bye.